Hello and welcome to tonight's show.
And hello and welcome to episode 192 of On the Bench, the podcast for scale modelers by scale modelers, all about scale models. This show is being brought to you by our wonderful and generous Patreon supporters. It's through their fantastic contributions that we're able to host and actually produce the show. You too can help us by simply going to www.patreon.com/onthebench and pledge any amount from as little as $1 per month. And every paid up Patreon supporter gets a free On the Bench sticker. Don't forget there's a whole heap of other wonderful model podcast shows that are available for your listening enjoyment. Simply go to modelpodcasts.com and check out all the other shows. And don't forget to leave a rating on whatever podcast app you're using. It just helps with the analytics and lifts everybody up. And now for a quick word from our wonderful sponsor, Scale Model Supply.
Are you looking for top quality paints for your next project? Then look no further than the Scale Modeler Supply, Australia's hobby paint. Hi, I'm Scott, and as a passionate modeler myself, I've spent years creating the SMS product range, designing them specifically with the Scale Modeler in mind. We have worked extensively to develop our acrylic lacquer paint range to not only be airbrush ready straight out of the bottle, but also to be easy to use so that anyone of any skill level can create professional results with minimal effort. Just give the bottle a good shake, pour into your airbrush and spray at 15 psi. So dive into your next project with confidence, knowing that you're backed by one of the finest hobby paints on the market. Head over to our website at scalemodeler.com.au to check out our full range and to find your closest retailer.
And hello and welcome to the show. And in the studio, I've got Ian.
G'day Dave, g'day Julian, g'day everyone else.
Of course, Julian is here as well.
Yes, I am.
How are we, gentlemen?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks Dave, how are you?
Good.
That's good to hear.
What's been happening since we were last in the studio?
Not a great deal, since it was only a week.
Well, yeah, because we're pre-recording this, because as this one comes to air, I'll actually be over in the US, so
Yes.
when this episode drops. So, let me see, what's this one coming out on? What's today?
I think today's
29th, isn't it?
29th. Yes.
Yeah, it's the 29th today, so this episode will be dropping on the 13th. Yes, 13th of June.
13th or the 27th?
Oh, hang on. No, 13th.
No,
Yes. What do you mean, no?
because we pre-recorded one last week.
Yeah, it drops today.
Oh, okay. No, fair enough.
This is
Okay.
what happens when you
Yeah, chop
you're
and
going
change.
into the future.
Yeah, I know. Welcome to the world of tomorrow.
Yes,
I
the
know.
world of tomorrow.
I know. I don't know how the other guys, like the Build Sideways crew, I mean, they're about...
they do theirs like way out in advance.
I
don't they?
know. I mean, and so their show will drop like 6 or 7 months afterwards.
Yep.
And, it seems that way. And you think to yourself, you can't even remember what you spoke about.
Yeah.
It's true. Very, very true. But yeah, no, modelling wise, not much has happened for me, unfortunately.
Or from my perspective, I've just been still building that tribal class destroyer.
And how's that come along?
Yeah, I've got the hulls all painted up now. So
Cool. Very good.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And just weathering it at the moment. Yeah, I noticed Julian brought some wheels.
Yeah, that
for...
Hey, are you talking about your thing or am I talking about my thing?
Well, I'm just casting over to you now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I did buy some wheels. This is from the Ukrainian Scale Cars Production, USCP.
Yeah.
Little company that makes.
I'm super impressed with the quality of the work in that 3D printer.
Yeah, so they're wire wheels.
Yeah.
Like these are wheels for an Aston Martin DB5, sorry. the classic James Bond car.
Mm-hmm.
Bond.
Which-
James Bond.
Yes, that James Bond. It's a kit that's been released by Revell. They've brought out the 007 version, and you can just build it as a regular Aston Martin DB5.
Pop-up machine guns in there.
Yeah.
And the knockoff hubs that
The
go
ejector
out.
seat. The ejector
Well,
seat.
remember the knockoff hubs that usst to pop out so they could chew up tyres?
and the bulletproof plate that comes up at the rear.
Yeah.
And they give
Yeah.
you little decals for the bullet like
Oh,
dents.
do
in
they
it.
really?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
pretty
that's cool.
cheesy. I don't know how well of a kit it'll be. I'll probably make it into something that's somewhat decent, but it'll probably be lacking in a lot of the little sort of detail aspects.
yeah.
You know, things like the little chrome frame that goes around the indicator lights, things
Yep.
like that.
Yep.
I'm not sure how that'll go, but we'll have a crack at it.
Yeah. But I did notice some new things come out recently.
So, sorry, just before you get onto that. So one of the other things is I've got all these holes to putty up on it. I haven't bought the kit yet. I've only bought the aftermarket. Because of that armor plate that pops up, I have to actually fill that hole.
Oh, really?
And because like 3/4 of the roof is a hatch that disappears so that he can press the ejection button and eject the passenger. I got to fill that hole as well to some degree. Like there's a part that goes up inside it so that it covers it most of the time, but I got to smooth that hole in so that you can't see it. So I'm planning to buy some because it's going to be a lot of filling, and because I'm going to be spraying this thing down with lacquers, I'm gonna have to reach for something that's not going to be activated by the thinners.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to go. I think I might go for the 3M red putty. I keep hearing good things about that stuff. I know Dukes has used it a lot in the past. I'm not sure if he still does, but
Because I'm pretty sure that stuff don't shrink.
it does. It barely shrinks as far as I know, and also it won't react to anything that you spray it with, which is a good thing.
Yep.
I would go for the Tamiya polyester putty type stuff, that yellow stuff that my favorite YouTuber uses, but you can't find that stuff anywhere.
No, it's very hard, isn't it? Yeah.
It's impossible. It's unobtainium.
Very true. Very true.
Anyway, that's me done.
So what I saw new,
Yes.
which won't be new when this drops, but Copper State, last episode I spoke, they finally released some dispatch riders for the motorcycles.
Yep.
Yeah, well, they've released 3 new kits. One is British dispatch rider taking pigeons to the front line, which comes with 2 figures. One on the motorbike with a backpack, which is basically like a wicker basket with the pigeons. The other one they brought out is basically that same figure on its own. And there's a third one out, which is a British dispatch rider taking a short break, which is basically just looking like a British soldier with a long coat on, steel helmet, which is the one I'll probably end up buying because it's to me it's the best looking one. The other new thing I saw was you can get through Manscale Models is for the new DDA LJ Tirana XU1. There's a whole heap of detail sets coming out for that as well. So anyone who's got one of the new LJ Tiranas and they want to pretty it up a bit, like add proper hood springs and proper belts and the electrics and all that gear, go to Manscale Models and place your order.
Very cool. And speaking of models, in Melbourne, we are
Another
blessed
new
with
hobby store.
another brick and mortar hobby shop
Jeez.
called Mad Toys and Hobbies. And these guys are located at 4/40 Bait Close, Pakenham. And just Google madtoysandhobbies.com.au. That's one word.
Yep.
And
He's just open, so his stock probably needs a.
he's
bit
actually
more.
a member of a model club down there in Pakenham as well. So just if Melbourne's not the centre of modelling in Australia, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
With over 17 bricks and mortar shops that you can go to, it's just unbelievable. And for another one to pop up, that's just brilliant.
Yeah, totally agree.
So it's got a whole heap of stuff there. Scale model accessories, Games Workshop, Warhammer, all the paints, plastic model kits. So you name it, he's there.
Yep. Gundam.
So that's really, really super cool.
Beginner and starter kits, 3D printers and resins,
And the other thing I wanted to just have a talk about, I mean, we should have spoken about it at the last show, but we're sort of halfway in. It was already sort of happening. But the Rocky Mountain Hobby Expo, which was run recently, boy, isn't that getting some chatter on amongst everybody.
Everyone loved that show. Sounded really good. So
it was a juried exhibition, and it was our good mate Scott. Scott Gentry was sort of part of that with his crew.
Yep.
And they did something which I was when I heard about it, I went, yeah, that works so well. So there was no categories per se, but as a modeler, you brought just a heap of models, selection of what who showcases who you are.
Yeah, put them in your area.
And the judges come along and select
the best
one of those, the best one of them, and then that would then go up and be juried and would gain either a gold, silver, or bronze based upon whatever criteria they were using.
Yeah.
And by all accounts, it was an awesome show. I haven't seen a bad word said about it, which, hats off to Scott and his crew. They've done a fantastic job. And they're about building that community side of things as well, which is I find it really exciting, a really exciting direction to go in, and I just sending all my best wishes because I thought it was just absolutely brilliant, and they're on again next year. They're going to be doing it again next year as well. Yeah. So, but as I said, everybody sort of is writing in about it. There's not any. I haven't. Duke's raved about it.
Yeah, you put it on his blog.
We had the model musings from Cavalier Cat. He on his blog, he's said he had an awesome time and absolutely loved it. And
so Elbows in the States next year. Make it your go-to show.
Absolutely. So that's just fantastic news. All righty, gentlemen. Let's have a quick word from one of our sponsors, and we'll be back to have a look at listener mail.
Oh, sounds good.
Hey guys, it's Chris from Inside the Armour, and I'd like to tell you about ITA3, 3D printed parts from Inside the Armour. And I've got a bunch of stuff for your armour, aircraft, ship and other projects coming up. Starting out in 172nd in aircraft, we've got stuff for the 172nd Airfix ME410 and for the 172nd Airfix Bristol Beaufort, including all kinds of great stuff. On the armour side, I've gone back to Churchills, and I've got some really great additions to improve your AFE Club or Tamiya Churchills, including rear deck tools with moulded tool clamps, which massively improve over the kit details, air intake grills, and the exhaust, complete with shroud, which features all of the missing brackets and details from both kits. In 148, we've got the same stuff again for the Churchill, and this time with a few more wrinkles and improvements over the 148 Tamiya kit. In both scales, you can get WS19 antenna sets and fire extinguishers. And in 135th, we've got radios including WS11 for your SAS LRDG or early British war armour builds, WS19 for the rest of the war for British armour builds, including Shermans, Churchills, Comets, Cromwells and many more, and post-war radios including Larkspur and coming soon Klansman. For the US fans out there, we've also got the SCR 508, which features optional boxes to go next to the transmitter unit, and a whole bunch of other stuff coming up soon. So if you want to improve your models quickly, easily and with superb detail, go on over to InsideTheArmour.com and look up ITA3 3D printed parts.
All right, mailbags still pretty slim because obviously people sort of haven't caught up with the fact that we're sort of not here, or we are here, but we're not. But we got 3 people writing in. So first of all, Lee writes in, Dear Benchers, thanks for another great episode. The interview about the Queensland show was enticing, but I don't think I'll be driving up for Ballarat for it. Oh, come on, Lee.
Come on. Join us.
It's a long drive.
Thought the weather there must be better than it is here in Melbourne or in Victoria in August. Don't forget to pack the appropriate clothes because Melbourne black looks out of place in Brisbane.
I'm pretty screwed then, aren't I?
And what he means by that, it's funny because people who live in Melbourne have got this thing where we wear black.
Well, I do. Just look at me. I'm always wearing
it's
something
sort of
black.
it's almost like the state sort of way of dressing in winter. You wear something black.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's weird.
I don't really go into the city that much, so maybe it's more prevalent there.
Oh, well. Lee continues talking about gatherings. You'll recall that clubs from Bendigo and Sunbury joined our display in April. Following on from that, we're planning an informal day to get together to do some modelling and whatever else modellers do together. We're thinking a Saturday in September until it was pointed out that the footy finals are on that month.
Yep.
And even models in Victoria are likely to be distracted by this religious observance. So we will be getting together in October. Dave, you mentioned that you were picking up some real space kits at the Nats, and the vendor mainly makes 1 to 1/44th. I like real space in that scale, so could you please let us know who the vendor is? And I will, but I don't have it to hand just yet. And finally, although you have done many shows on aircraft, I can only recall one on airliners, and that was a very long time ago. I think it's time to revisit that topic too. All the best from Lee.
No worries, Lee.
Yeah, we'll have to find somebody who builds airliners and
get them on.
Get them on. Maybe I'll have to think about that.
Yeah.
All right. I've got no hope with this name.
Yes, it's a Finnish name.
Jaakko Kasira.
Well, there you go.
That's almost certainly very wrong.
More than
Like
likely.
Dave wrong.
My apologies to you, Jaakko.
Hello, guys. First, I'd like to say thanks to you for the great podcast that has entertained me for several years.
You're
I
welcome.
really like to listen to your banter and great interviews on a great spread of subjects. One thing especially has become almost a must for me. I really want to travel to Australia to visit Model Expo and the aviation museums. This might take a while to get enough money and time, and at the same time to also travel there. So why don't you people live a little bit nearer to Europe? Well, called the tyranny of distance, unfortunately.
The reason we live out here is because this is where Britain could dump their convicts the furthest away from home.
And then for the complaint, since episode 189, the YouTube music doesn't allow to turn the screen off and still keep playing the audio. Episode 188 works just fine. I do listen to you a lot while on walks and my phone is in my pocket, my headphones are on, and also in bed waiting to nod off. Not that your show is boring, but it makes me go to sleep. It's just a habit I've had for years. I don't have the premium subscription to YouTube Music, but after killing Google Podcasts, they promise that podcasts will play with the screen off without it. And other podcasts actually do this. I've noticed there are labels audio video in the upper screen for some podcast episodes and start to wonder if this has some meaning. You label episodes and audio podcasts. This might solve the issue. Hope there is an easy solution so I can continue to nod off listening to your great show. All the best and happy modelling from Jaakko Sokerisa from Finland. Well,
Yes.
I don't know, interesting.
Dave, you can just butcher anything, can't you?
I can't wait. I can't wait to hear the reply email where he corrects you on how to pronounce that.
Phonetically.
And I'm really glad that you didn't tell him how to do it the first time around, because it just makes it so much better.
As for the YouTube thing, I don't know. I haven't made any changes, and YouTube picks it up from the RSS feed. So I haven't made any changes, so I don't quite understand what's going on there. I'll have to have a little
look
at
into
that
it,
in more
deep
detail.
dive.
Yeah, so I'll go and check it out. But thanks again for your email. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, and hopefully you can make it to Australia. Yeah, and if you do go to Australia, I suggest go to the Canberra one, because then you can go to the Australian War Memorial, which is pretty much one of the greatest military museums probably worldwide, I'd
Well,
say.
there is, but even in Melbourne, I mean, we've got the RAAF Museum.
Point Cook, that's a fair hike though.
We've got Moorabbin Air Museum.
Yep.
We've got that B-24, which is over Werribee, getting built by that group of volunteers.
Yeah, yes.
And we've also got, of course, the Puckapunyal Armour and Artillery Museum, which is reopening towards the end of the year.
That's right, because they're moving everything, aren't they?
No. Now, I happened to be at Puckapunyal for work, and they were saying that they didn't get the funding up to actually rebuild it, but they are going to be reopening it. But unfortunately, it'll still be on base, so you'll have to go through all the security stuff to sort of get on.
Yeah, so bring your passport probably.
And of course, we can't forget about the Armour and Artillery Museum up in Cairns as well.
Yeah.
Which is,
See,
you know,
this is the problem, right? Australia is a lot of wide open spaces, and like arranging transport between them is a real pain.
Yeah, you got to basically fly everywhere.
It's much like the US, though. I mean, the US has got some fantastic museums, but they're spread right across the continent. So, anyway, such is life.
It is.
Next email comes from Marion Canizaro, who writes in, "Good day, benches and Julian.
Oh, you got a special mention, Julian.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Was just listening to the last episode when you're talking about the 143 scale Dakar trucks found on Spot Model. Wanted to let you know that the Zvezda has released a 4-wheel version in 135th and 172nd scale, with the 72nd scale one being a future release. Thanks for the great podcast. And Marion, won't give my last name because it'll be slaughtered. Well, you did give your last name, and I did
Dave did slaughter it.
So there you go.
Yes, he's the Grim Reaper of slashing surnames.
Yes.
Yes, Dakar trucks. I'm kind of keen to build one.
Yeah, me too now. They just look so cool.
I know. I love watching them on TV,
Yeah.
the race. It's just awesome. I love watching the highlights.
Yes.
So.
Yes. I always take my hat off to the guys who do it on motorcycles.
Oh, yeah.
These guys are insane.
The Aussies have won that quite a few years, actually.
Yeah.
Got some good riders out there who go and do it.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for writing in. Of course, if you want to send us an email, our email address is onthebench64@gmail.com. We love hearing what you have to say and enjoy reading it out and butchering your name as well.
That's it. Which is a highlight for everyone.
It is indeed. All right, let's have another quick break, and then we'll have a chat with Lincoln.
Yes.
Sounds like a plan.
Hi, it's Chris, the Promotions Officer for the Queensland Model Hobbies Expo, here with your invite to join us on the 17th and 18th of August at the Ipswich Event Centre in the Ipswich Showgrounds for the 28th running of the QMHE. Register your entries for the competition or book a table for the swap meet on Sunday via the website at qmhe.com. With over 20 local and interstate retailers attending and our member clubs displaying, we hope to see you all there in August.
And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce the irrepressible rascal Lincoln Wright.
I like turtles.
Oh, that's an old name.
I've got this thing. I gotta do something funny every time I come into the room with you fine chaps. Thanks for having me back, and thank you for pretending to introduce me again.
Hey, no problem, buddy.
Hey, am I still the most long-suffering, oft-suffering guest on the show?
This, if we count where we have a chat to you when we're up at Canberra, I think this makes number the 5th appearance on the show.
Ah,
so out of 192 episodes, a percentage of that is, I don't know, 3%, 2%?
Yeah.
So if I've got to just take it a bit further to make sure I don't get called back anymore, what am I going to do?
Well, the problem is, I mean, we're going to have you on more often, but the check didn't turn up in the mail, so.
That's it, mate, yeah.
I know how the pod racket works.
No bling, we don't sing.
You covered that one pretty quickly.
Hey, I am, speaking of Canberra, though, you guys pretty psyched?
Oh, of course, mate.
As well?
Of course. Yep. Canberra's the ultimate trip. It's great.
We've actually changed hotels, so we've got a location which is about 1 block away from where all the pubs are that we normally go to. So
I don't see that going badly at all.
No, I don't either.
Not at all, mate.
I foresee no trouble with that.
There's a lot of positives, and
Yes.
and we're really excited because the Canberra show, or the Scale ACT, it's really got a it's become known as like the friendly show.
Yeah.
And that's not to say all the other shows aren't friendly, but there's a real community that's sort of built around it, and especially if you're from interstate and everything, you get to hang out with some really cool guys and tell a lot of lies over some beers. So.
Yeah, it was one of those vibes that you couldn't really tell who had travelled. Being the first timer to the show, I didn't realise there were a bunch of other people from interstate, until we kind of followed up with each other afterwards. But they'd reach out, we'd touch base on like Instagram or something.
Yeah.
And you find out these other blokes were from like South Australia or something. I was like, wow, everyone felt local, which I mean is a super positive. But it was just big fun. I was going to like roll into the word piss up. but the show was really fun too. Yeah, it was loads of laughs. I'm so looking forward to it.
I got to say,
my year.
I have never seen so many machining Krieger in one spot in my entire life as we saw at Scale ACT last year.
Yeah, true.
And
it was huge, wasn't it?
That is down to you, Mr. Lincoln Wright.
Yeah. No, I think
you did the right thing.
I think Yokoyama, the right stuff. I had it on that day. I think Yokoyama Sensei had a great deal to do with that, more than I did. So big thanks to him.
Well,
but yeah, and a big shout out to can we use his real name on the podcast, Peter?
Yes.
The El Presidente.
Yeah.
Honcho.
Yeah, great guy.
He I'm not saying this because he's huge either. he could reach out and swat me with one paw. But he so welcoming. He's really put together a good show. The way he was very chill about how a lot of things could work.
Yeah.
And just talking with them now about trying to embiggen the next one. They're so welcoming and accommodating for making everything work. So big shout out for Peter on that one. And you guys know Nathan too, of course. Nathan's been really instrumental in setting up a lot of stuff with Sci-Fi too. So big shout out to those guys. It's not me, it's them.
Yes. No, everyone did a great job there.
So you coming back this year?
Yeah, he is.
Oh no, 100%. Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yes. I've got a new and improved PA and everything.
Oh, you have you now?
Oh, cool.
A big shout out to Gav. Gav was he really made it work for me last year. So thanks very much, Gav Thorpe.
Yeah, he's a good bloke, that Gav.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm all planned. I'm hustling to make sure I want to have physical issues of all 3 books of mine available for the show, because I don't want to show up and have a placeholder. That's where volume 1 goes.
Oh yeah, I get you.
So working really hard to get all of them done. So
well, speaking of books, is there anything in the wind? Have we got anything that can be exclusive on OTB?
Yeah, well, that's what volume 3 is. You just had the exclusive.
Yeah, I know, but I was trying to.
We zoomed past it. Yeah, no, we didn't have enough. We didn't have enough fanfare.
We didn't build it up.
Right, we didn't have enough fanfare.
I mean, you just slipped in there. Oh, you're going to have my 3 volumes.
Hey, I got to apologize, dude, for being such a podcasting noob. I get so excited that when you talk over people, that's not going to come out in the wash, is it?
Nope.
He says he's a noob, and this is like the 5th time he's been on this show. And he goes, "Oh, I'm still a noob."
On this show, not including other shows.
Yeah. No, but when we were talking about it briefly before, that lag, the time difference between when you're speaking on a podcast and when you actually get to hear it, and you lament how you sound, and realized I shouldn't be cutting people off. I shouldn't be talking so long. I should be more concise. I should be less idiot.
Look, you don't have to worry about that because I've got all the editing rights here, so I'll make you sound as bad as I want or as good as I want.
So anyway,
this exclusive news.
Yes,
you heard it here on the bench from the man himself. There is a 3rd book in the works.
Yes. I'm hustling to get all of volume 3 ready so it will be physically available there in Canberra. Volume 3 is the Grosserhund.
Ooh.
So I've done an in-depth deep dive, an epic saga into all 8 of the available kits from Hasegawa for the Grosserhund. And the Hund is an AI-driven drone. Used by one side of the forces to augment their boobs on the ground. I thought I'd get laughs with that one.
Well, I'm trying to get the mental picture in my head. So
yeah. So one of the sides is suffering from it's something we can see in the modern day. They're having trouble getting enough boots on the ground, so they need to augment their forces by employing robots. So only one of the sides goes with AI-driven stuff, and this is one of the. This is the we could call it the pinnacle of their designs. Right. So it's a drone, a robot that replaces foot soldiers and enhances foot soldiers. So it's used for military operations, guarding and holding ground.
Right.
So it's ground-based as opposed to an air-based one. And it's a really cool model. There's 8 different versions of them, and I've gone really deep into it, so that people will be able to pick them apart.
All right.
From the ground versions to the lunar flight versions, like the ones in Moon Patrol, and the ones that are used on the lunar surface to guard the bases and what have you.
You know, I've often found this model to look kind of creepy.
Yeah, very, very much so. It's well creepy, isn't it?
Yeah, it reminds me of like the machine that's come to life and it's murdering a whole lot of people in like an 80s, like a cheesy 80s movie, you know?
Yeah, very, very much so. It's that's built into the law too, that they're often feared by both sides, because once they take a few hits, once they get damaged, the AI can become a little unpredictable.
Oh, that's handy.
So there's a bit of that built in too. So and you're dead to rights, on target there, because it was designed back in the 80s, way before really drones had become much of a thing. Now we look at drones, we've got AI-enabled wingmen for our fighter jets. Like Australia, we're bringing in some from General Dynamics, I think.
We've got the Ghost Bat.
Yeah. So it's I felt that it was very timely to kind of jump on board with this one, because it's something it's not that far into the future we could imagine something like this perhaps being deployed. So I tried to make this one more similar. My volume 1 was that deep dive into the Mark 44, that series of kits. So this one's very similar to that. I've gone a deep dive into that one series of kits. And the cool thing about that is it lets you really work on your painting and finishing techniques. Because you know how it is when we're normally working on multiple different models. You kind of get one swing at it, right?
Yeah.
At a model, and you're like, oh yeah, maybe I could have done it a bit better on the next one. When you've got 8 of them, you've got the opportunities to get better.
Yes.
And try a few things that are a bit more of a different from the usually seen finishes. Yeah. So I've been very experimental with some of the paint schemes as well to get away from not just the standard machining cricket looks, but try to imagine how they might be extrapolated across some future versions of them. Yeah. Does that kind of make sense? So you've got your older ones, and they're very Wehrmacht and for the Strau forces, Wehrmacht and Luftwaffe type finishes. Now that we're 42 years on from when these things were designed, you can imagine that because they're aircraft driven, I've taken in some designs from the X series of airplanes that NASA, DARPA, and what have you putting together, and some very modern takes on like primer coats that we see on very new airframes like the Raptors and the F-35s, and put them together so that it works across the series of 8, from the older looking stuff with the red primer, zinc chromate type primer, that sort of look, right up to the those new kind of green teal colored primers that we're seeing.
Yes.
Using purple as a frame color. That was a lot of fun. Purple as a frame and chipping color. So So I've probably gone into a little bit too much nosebleed detail there, but that's exactly what the book entails. It's very deep on the build-up of the series and the painting techniques with it. I probably haven't been able to go this deep into paint since like the FAQ book. So, and I had a feeling it was correct timing to do that, go a little bit more advanced and deep into painting, hijinks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, very excited to hear that's going to be potentially ready and released for Scale ACT.
In November.
That's why my hair looks like this morning.
Right.
So, there's been quite a bit of work going into it.
Burning the midnight oil.
The other thing, too, that I've added to it, and I'm sorry to rattle on, I realized I just was mentioning that I've got to be more concise. That's gone out the window, right? Also, as an improvement or a further step from like the Mark 44 Volume 1 book, was to add groundwork bases to each of them.
Now, I've been watching you do some stuff on your YouTube channel with ground-based stuff, and
very impressive.
It's been fun to watch.
You know, recently,
Thanks.
I saw that that one base you did, the one where you've got like the black that sort of comes up the sides off the sides of the plinth and onto the edges.
Yes.
Of the top surface. I really, really, really like that look.
Cool.
Because it's almost like the whole sort of setting is in the dark, but you've got like a bit of a spotlight.
Right. Cool. I'm really happy it gives that impression. Thank you. Yeah, so the same kind of, that design foo of working across the series of the robots, the 8 drones. I've done that with the groundwork as well. So from the first one is quite simple, and would be a great first step for folks who are just getting into groundwork and adding a base and a plinth to their models. Because now that we're in the time, we're not stuck in COVID anymore, and those first books were made when we weren't taking models to shows.
Yeah.
But since what do we call it? Like upskirt gate. In the break with the
looking at the tank, yes.
It's like since that time I've realized that now is definitely the time that we need to be putting things on bases, and sometimes these bipedal things, it's difficult to figure out the kind of the size and the shape of the base you want. So I've shown a series of plinth designs that you can take it from most simple right up to the 8th one is a still not advanced, but it's much more advanced, much more worked.
Yeah.
To give folks a bit of a concept of some ideas they might like to borrow.
Yep.
For theirs. So that along with the models that fit on top of them. It's kind of a progression.
It's something I've been pivoting to this year. And where I'm concentrating now, making sure that I'm building a base to go with the kit, because you look, and I don't want to say Australia's behind, but if you go to look at the shows in Europe and some of the majors in around the rest of the world, like the UK and the US, it's very rare, if not, it doesn't happen, where there's a model that doesn't have a base of some description.
I'm not backing you up on beating up Australia like that.
No, I'm not. Because in the past we just rock up to a show and we just chuck the model down and there you go. If you're particularly, you might just get a plank of wood and sort of chuck it on top of that. Now, it's not becoming required, but I'm seeing a lot more modelers now.
We're living in a different era now.
Yes.
This is an era that's very heavily dominated by wargaming miniatures and
social media too.
and figure painting. That's very much a big movement these days, and they're big on bases, right? Especially for display type pieces, not so much the actual like playing the game kind of pieces, but certainly there's lots of quick and easy products that you can use to make a small base for figure, especially like humanoid type things, right?
Well, heck, you can go to a shop and buy a base that's already pre-done for you and just walk out and don't have to do anything to it.
Yeah. I saw a neat little video where someone had one of those, those rollers. Have you seen them?
Yeah.
It's like a cylinder, and you roll it across like a flattened piece of like like the epoxy putty type stuff, right? And then it gives like a
cobblestone,
like a cobblestone or whatever it is.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Yeah. It's like an instant texturing, like quick and easy texturing tool. Like, and this one happened to have like a sort of battlefield kind of look with like skeletons and things all over the place, lots of like bones and things. And they just did that, and then they just got like a circle cutter, and they just like punched out a whole bunch of circles, and there's all these bases in like
great idea.
Like 3 minutes max.
Yeah.
Wow.
So all you have to do is just dry them and paint them.
Yeah, I mean, like, everything's just sort of getting developed so quickly on the base front.
And as I said, it really gives a polished, finished look to the model that you're presenting if it's on a nice base.
Well, it sets a scene. It gives gives the viewer. To me, it gives the viewer like context for where this thing is sitting. Like,
but
it does. But even if you don't, I mean, look at what Stuart from Black Hat Models does. Our mate from Queensland, where it just does a black base with the lettering of the actual tank, and it looks awesome.
Yeah.
Sure. It looks really good.
You notice from that, is it the very big figure show in Netherlands last year?
Oh yeah, I know the one. Yeah,
and then suddenly everyone's going off and doing that sort of L-shaped base.
with the backdrop.
Yeah, the one where the backdrop where the backboard merges into the flat ground beneath the figure.
Yeah.
You're going to see at least one of them at Scale ACT this year.
Cool.
One of my friends and students, he's done one for his Mark 44, and it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it for him, but the effects that he's put into it are phenomenal. And they work great. It's that wonderful meetup of scale modeling and figure painting.
Yes.
Coming together and just elevating us to the next level. It's fantastic.
Well, I'm really excited to see that model at the show now.
Yeah, it's really, really good. So that was my series. Let's just go back to talking about me.
Yeah, of course, because it's all about you. Yes.
I feel bad now because I didn't do any of those backdrop scenes because, you could imagine when you're setting yourself up to make 8 of these bloody things.
Yeah.
You're not going to put that level of complexity on yourself. I'm already thinking I was pretty stupid to make 8 models with bases.
Also, I mean, like your models tend to benefit from like the limbs and weapons and things hanging over the perimeter of the base.
Sure. That's a really good take. Thank you. Because it helps with the dynamism, doesn't it? But that was another one of the. So I just wanted to to complete my little thing. So I'm a bit of Mr. Monk when I'm explaining stuff.
Yeah. And that's right.
I've got to get this idea out.
Because you've got it in your head and you don't want to forget it.
Yes. So once I blurt it out, it's like, okay, I can sleep tonight. I said my little thing. So the concept was to, because we're getting into it's exactly what Dave said about we're moving into a time where the shows now, bases are becoming much more common. So also adding, it's not just the narrative to our base, but actually giving them a little bit of height, so that they're visibly separate from the transport medium, which is the white or tablecloth table.
I never thought of that. That's a very good point. Yeah.
Mate, it's my Mr. Monking of things. It actually does come in handy. but it does. It visually helps them to come across a little bit more so that, I mean, I'm all about adding service to the person viewing my work because I want to make it as good a experience for them. So lifting it up a little bit, as Julian was mentioning, having the way the sides can sometimes help to spotlight the effect for them.
Yep.
So that allows my viewer to go, they want me to look here. And from there, they can then start to enjoy the model that you've presented to them. So that one. And also, when you've got a group of 8 of them, I wanted them to although having visual differences across them, and they gradually increase in complexity, I also still wanted them to look like a set.
Yeah.
So I can have 8 of them on the table together, and they understand these were made by one monkey. That they're not too disparate. That's another Mr. Monk thing I've got going. They've got to somehow relate to one another.
Coming from someone who's done judging, you often pick up on these things, and you go, these ones are often the same guy.
Yes. But rather than try to hide it, like sometimes it might be to your advantage when you go to a show to hide it, so that you can kind of clean up on winning the different things. I definitely want these to look like a Link special. These are all.
Oh, the Link stamp of approval. Yeah.
This is his thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think it'll be right for me to enter. It'll be pretty bad if I put all 8 of these bloody things in one section in a competition, right? It would not be the coolest move, I think.
So here's a question about bases, and
yes.
I'm really glad that you're sort of on this little journey about bases. I want to pose a question.
Sure.
To you. Do you build the model first completely and then think about what the base is going to be like, or do you have an idea when you're starting the model as to what the base is going to look like? And does the base influence the model, or does the model influence the base? Or is it just a balanced picture?
So you want me to explain how a watch works when you just want when you just need to know the time?
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of complexity to that.
Yeah.
And I'm very much, I'll place myself in the base building neophyte side. I mean, I've been doing it for a bit, but it's definitely not my number one thing.
And that's why I'm interested to see what your process is, because you're so new to it.
Yeah. So a couple of them have been approached in different ways. So the model was very much first, and then the base is then added afterwards. But other ones have been, the base has been developed first, and then the base concept was developed first, and then the model was made almost to match it. The best example I'll have of that one, you guys will spot them. They're a couple of the Huns that have rocket packs. They're used for like patrolling lunar orbit.
Right.
So I've made them as flight bases over the lunar surface. That one was really cool because I had the idea of the machine not standing on the surface and it being held with a brass rod. So the model was then built in a way that would accommodate that. So it was very much so. Back to Dave's question, some of them, the ground standing ones, are often made model first, ground from that. But the flight ones were made the opposite way around.
Right.
The base was designed first, then the model made, then I've come back to completing the base.
Because
it feels like a crap answer.
Because I ask it because I'm constantly staggered by the ingenuity, I guess is the word, of some diorama guys, where you're thinking about the whole picture that you want to do, and so it's not just the model you're building, but the base itself is the model as well. Yes. And it has to be, otherwise it's then not the diorama. And I mean, all of their ability to sort of, it's like artists where they can sort of, conjure up a picture with just a paintbrush and paint. And I mean, all of these people, how they sort of get to that point, and it's a skill that I don't have, or...
Well, I think photography, if you've done much of that, it sort of plays into it, because you've got to balance composition, right? With multiple base elements and multiple figure elements and vehicles and things like that. You have to sort of picture a scene and cut away what's not necessary to tell the story you want to tell.
Yeah, well, my best guess for many of them, and this is probably something that we can pester these fine folks about at the show, is that it's an incremental increase to it. For sure, they've also gone through the similar steps to us. They've gone through plonking the finished model on the what do we call it? Is it called like the data sheet? The paper card that we fill out.
Oh, the entry form. Yeah.
Entry form.
Yeah.
Okay. That was ye old. least least level of entry required. It's just to put the model on top of that sheet, right?
Yep.
Then there's the blank form. So putting your finished model on a piece of either stained wood or painted black wood, for example. I think they've gradually gone up through incremental steps because it's pretty hard to just start off flying with a full diorama. I do remember the first. I did get into making what I thought was a diorama at the time. I mean, it was all right. It wasn't great, but I did definitely jump into the deep end with that. I think it was like 2008, 9-ish, and it was stupid big because I didn't know any better. So that was a big part of it. I'm not sure that I could see the whole thing either. That's also like a big challenge, I think. So just trying to match it up with what Dave's saying, like, can these people see the big picture? I think there's always it's got to be a combination of both, hasn't there? There's some, when I look at them, I don't want to be too judgy, but I am. I'm judgy, very judgy. I'm all about bombastic side-eye. So when you look at it, you know the poor bugger has just gone, okay, my base will be X big, and I'm going to throw in as much stuff as I can.
Yeah.
Sure. And they will learn from it, of course, as well, based on free feedback. And there's other judgy bastards out there who are mousy as well. See, I'm not mousy. I'm judgy, but I keep that shit to myself. Just kidding. But and if someone asks me about it, I'll try to be as careful and friendly as possible, because you never kind of know what you're getting into, do you? That somebody may know everything there is to know about shrimping, or it might be someone's first swing at something, and all they really do need is backpats and say, "Hey, fucking good job! You made that. Well done. What do you think about it?" And often they'll say the correct things back too, like it's way too busy, or too much empty space, void space, things like that. They'll learn. So I know it's a really bad answer, but I think it's just the reality of how we work on stuff. Is we always err on either one, don't we? We either throw ourselves in the deep end and do too much and it's not planned, or we try to over-plan it and don't end up pulling our head out of our asses.
But I think maybe Julian sort of put his finger on for those starting out what to do. So actually study taking good photos, or have a look at the master artists and why a picture is considered a classic picture. And if you go into it, it's got things like the W's and the viewpoint and all that sort of stuff, and that's, you got to consider those sort of things, I guess. When you're moving forward. I mean,
it's one of the reasons why I've yet to see a very, very, very good aircraft diorama in person. You see them sometimes in magazines, but most of the time there's too much dead space, way too much, and it's because like the person who's made it hasn't had the vision, I guess you could say, to cut a wing off, right?
Yeah, just put it,
because you don't need the whole plane in there to tell the story.
I for one blame aircraft carriers.
Aircraft carriers.
Their decks are way off the Fibonacci sequence. That's the culprit here. I exactly understand what you're saying there. There's different rules for different courses, isn't there? So there's the same rules that we'd apply like for a ground war type diorama versus like jokingly I said the carrier deck, but how much of that carrier deck do you then choose? Plus, how much has been done for that subset of our genre historically?
And
are their groundworks always like a certain size?
Yeah.
versus sorry, mate, go ahead.
And we've got a friend of the show, Chris Becker, who's he's the sort of the one man beating the drum about having aircraft being displayed in flight because that's the natural sort of area an aircraft should be.
Sure.
And I applaud him for that. And he's gone so far as to put his money where his mouth is. He's actually putting a prize up at the Queensland show, which is coming up in August.
Oh, cool.
Which we're heading off to. But
I love them in flight too. I must say, I'm totally on board for that.
But it's if you're going to choose a model and a medium to do, the in-flight one would have to be the hardest to do.
Where do the seatbelts go?
Around the pilot.
What do I do with the bloody seatbelts? Yeah. It's ruined my work in progress shots. It was all about the office.
Because if you recall, what's the guy who built the Spruce Goose?
Howard Hughes.
Howard Hughes. So he made a movie of World War One air combat. And
yes, he did.
He spent all this time and had all these aircraft sort of flying around, and it wasn't working when they got back to the studios when they were doing the rushes to have a look. And what they realised is because there was no context, you couldn't visualise a context. All you saw these aircraft moving across the screen. And what was missing was clouds.
Yes.
You needed clouds to bring the perspective of the movement of the aircraft into the movie. And doing a diorama of an
see where you're going with this. You're going to bring cloud machines into the show.
You just need a teenager with one of those vapes just standing by the model at all times.
Just blowing it.
Sorry, Dave. Sorry, right.
And so it's to do the context and to do it justice is that other bit of complexity than what you would normally have for, say, just a diorama of a tank in a field somewhere, or a Großhund floating over the moon.
Yeah, it's yes, because your composition, they still need to follow some rules of composition. And
exactly.
And an aircraft in flight, or even anything in flight, demands that you also project motion somehow into the piece as well.
Sure. Yes. The I really liked what Julian was saying before about the photography, concept, and I know it sounds like I'm leading the witness towards my desired result, but where I'm going, and I'll put it out there to say it. That's one of the important things you can get from. I actually had a really short chat online with. You guys must know him. He's a super famous, legendary armor builder. Chema. What's Chema's last name? Chema's Spanish. He's worked with Vallejo for the longest time.
I've heard of him. I don't know him personally.
Okay, sure. Lovely bloke. Does fantastic works, and his composition of photos is really good. And again, it's because he's worked in publishing for so long. And he goes all the way back, working with the first iterations of like big productions, stuff like that too. We were talking about that, how we predate a lot of the folks who've come up through the influence of YouTube. Now, I also agree with YouTube. I mean, because I also share my stuff on YouTube. But the one of the challenges with YouTube is that we're not stopping to smell the flowers, as it were. We're not stopping to really look at the shot, because one of the best things about a shot that's been chosen to go into a book is that it's been much hand-wringing has ensued for that shot to make it in most high-quality publications. See, but for a YouTube video, your YouTube kind of, I know I'm going on a weird discourse here, but it'll make sense.
Okay.
YouTube wants people to pump things out quite quickly. So there's much more emphasis on it being a multimodal presentation.
Yep.
You've got the music, you've got the voice, you've got the movement, you've got all kinds of things happening. Whereas when you're comparing that to what happens in a book is like, it's a shot. There's no sound, nothing else to make it work. Like you're talking about Howard Hughes with the clouds. The shot needs to work all on its own. So there does need to be a certain level of perfection achieved in putting together that composition. That's why I often find, and I still find, even as a bloke who makes books himself, the number one medium that I steal from other people is via their publications, because there's a certain elegant, simplistic perfection inside those shots.
Yep.
That's why they were chosen.
Yep.
Like for example, one of the ones I really like, I think it's one of the best places for photography, is called it's called Scale Aviation.
Yes.
Done by the Artbox company.
That's the one with the Corsair on the cover, is it? I think.
So there's a periodical as well as the books they produce. So I guarantee there's one with the Corsair on it.
No, I just remembered that there was a specific book about scale photography, and yeah.
Okay.
And I remember like there were being in the group where the guy who had written the book was talking and this and that.
Okay.
Blah blah blah.
Well, so sorry to go long on this, but to deep dive into it, the main person behind their style of photography is a Mr. Ishizuka, and luckily our times overlapped when I had my brief stint with Artbox, who publishes Scale Aviation, before we were yoinked over to Hobby Japan. And it's him, Ishizuka-san. The way he sets up his shots is instrumental to their success. I believe he's Mr. Scale Aviation. And that's one of the primary places where I steal my inspiration for how my shots are done. I know my shots must work because I'll have people tell me they weren't sure how to photograph a certain model, so they reference one of the books and they go, I borrowed some of your shots. I said, yeah, I'm more than fine with that. In fact, that's what I do. I believe it's like one of the ultimate kinds of perfection within our hobby that can then be almost copy pasted across to other forms. And it's something that actually YouTube does not allow as much, because it's there's only so long you can hold an image on the screen before the viewer is bored and the viewer goes, come on, get to the paint moving things, monkey.
Well, I mean, this is where Instagram is more the tool, right?
Yeah, but so I shared a reel last night, just as an example to illustrate this and agree with you, that I shared both a photo and a reel, and the reel is the moving picture one, right, of one of the bases for the Hun series. And one of the questions that came up, though, was, but what are you actually using? And that's fair enough. I understand there's always some quest or some desire to know what the actual product was. It's paint mate. But I didn't write that, of course. I dutifully answered that probably the very one that he was asking happened to be an oil brusher. But it could be any litany of the things that, maybe there's 10 different products that have gone into that to make that shot. But the main thing is actually the geometry of the shot, what we were just talking about before. The way the lines are intersecting, where they match up on the base, so that it gives the slight illusion of movement. All of those things are so much more important than I'm using one of old Miguel's oil brushes in that step. But that's not what made it. The oil brusher does, if I can drop the bomb, the oil brusher does sweet fuck all.
I'll have to beep that out.
Sorry. But it needed to be dropped, right? Because, I mean, literally, it could be any oil paint, and if there happened to be foam, like instead of cork, then I would have used an acrylic product. It's not relevant actually to the medium used. It's more of the shape, the height, the way the lines are intersecting. All of that stuff is actually, and that one is all conferred to the reader through the photograph.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, that was long.
No. It's a good discussion. It really is.
I think deeply about deep things.
I have a question.
Sure, man. Dave can answer.
Have you considered going into putting lighting kits into your models?
Yes. Yes. That's an excellent question, and I love the idea. It's you can probably see that. I mean, we've been talking for years now, right?
Yeah.
You can probably see that I'm reasonably methodical with gradually, incrementally increasing, ratcheting up the complexity for the models and the shares. So that's one of the things that I've been dying to do, but this time with adding the groundwork, adding the bases, doing 8, there was just no way I was going to also do lighting.
Mm-hmm.
I had to call it somewhere. But yes, I'm really keen to do that. Yeah.
Well, that means you have to learn the dark magic of electricity.
The dark magic.
Well,
of
I don't trust something I can't see, taste, smell, or
do
hear.
you see the contradiction there? The dark magic of lighting.
But guys, the timing's really good for us because if you've seen that some of the, so I've actively looked into this, and as soon as one of my mates does something that looks cool with lights in it, I'll pounce on him. And Mate, how'd you do that? So like one of the gentlemen who I published in Lunar Combat, who did the other Lunar Diver with lights in it.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked a little bit about his lighting kits. But apparently there's quite a few solutions now that are very simple.
Yeah.
Compared to like the Star Wars days. We're not back in that dark ages. But saying it is still another level of complexity, isn't it?
Mm. Well, I mean, for example, like when I imagine MAK and what you could do with lighting, I mean, for like the Grober Hunt, is it?
Yes.
That's a kind of vehicle that would or humanoid walker type thing that you could really benefit for having just a small LED in the head, right?
Sure.
Well, I did that to me Crote.
Okay.
Nice.
I put lights in there and actually put a little sensor in there, a sound sensor.
Oh, yeah.
So if you make a noise, the gun barrel spins.
Oh, right.
Like that Gatling gun.
Sweet.
Just start spinning. And I hollowed it all out and put like a really bright blue LED in one section. So as it's spinning, it's like flashing a blue light out the end of the barrel.
I love those effects.
Yeah.
It's so cool, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was quite easy to do too.
The other ones I can think of is the armored suit that has like the window for the pilot.
Oh, the space ones.
Yeah. But that's the kind of thing where I don't know how this works out law wise, and you can tell me this, but you know how like in a lot of sci-fis when you've got like space suits on, there'll be like lighting inside the helmet.
Yep.
I think they do that so that they can't see out.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think it's so we can see Sandra Bullock's face.
It's so you can see the horror on their face.
Yeah, it's so we can see George Clooney.
Because in space, no one can hear you scream.
They paid for George Clooney. We better be able to see him. And we better be able to see where they put in the CG version of George Clooney.
And it's a really an easy way for those of us who don't know how to do like electrics and all that sort of stuff. You can just buy those brick lights for Legos.
Yeah.
They're expensive. I know they're expensive, but it's you don't have to do anything. You just buy it and put the battery in, off you go.
I think that there's also like a whole bunch of like sort of people make lighting kits.
Yes.
And you just grab it and throw it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Bandai makes some off the shelf.
Oh, of course they do.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, Bandai make them too, and they're reasonable. But there's quite a few. So yeah, that'll be something I'll put together like in the future.
Also,
no spoilers.
the LED filament type stuff has sort of really changed the game of what you could do with it.
Yes.
I like that spaghetti sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look fantastic.
I
Don't
think
they?
it was that YouTube channel, Boyle Hobby Time. He uses those a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they look quite good. Especially when you can use them like in explosions and
Yeah,
all sorts of things.
yeah. I made just put one of them together. It's he's got the laser. It includes the filament, which is lit, and the impact point. He's got the cotton ball explosion built around it. But with the lighting coming from the center, it actually looks quite effective.
It does, yes. Yeah,
and again, I guess it depends on where it's shot from, though. So that goes back to our composition topic of, it depends on where you shoot it from too, doesn't it?
It does indeed.
Very true.
It does indeed.
That's one. Hey, just to throw this out there, this might help someone. I first really got the concept of composition. It was going to a really high spec figure painting show, and it was. I don't know if you guys know this, but it started in Telford. They've always had really high spec figure painters, but there was a little blip time when it jumped was when these Korean gentlemen started showing up.
Oh yeah,
the Koreans.
And it was Mr. Manjin Kim and Kyo Young. Mr. Young, he's the gentleman who made the banana boat, the big space flyer thing.
Yes, I know that one. Yes,
yep. Yeah. So I've been really enamored with what they do. And when I went to see it, because from Japan it was quite close to go over there, I was both amazed, dumbfounded, but also shocked that once you got off shot, so when you got in the right position to look at their figures, they magically come to life. But once you got slightly off shot, if that makes sense, I don't know if I'm saying the right word for that, but you got you weren't lined up. Yeah, you weren't lined up with the model correctly for how they want it to be viewed. The effect was completely lost.
Wow.
And that one really surprised me. I thought, wow. So despite the fact that we work on 3D models, they actually do have a 2D resolution from a certain point of view.
Mm-hmm.
You can make your stuff, like even your vignette and diorama, if you're that inclined to go that far with it, to actually have a 2D aspect. Meaning, and that's why I tried to put this into a couple of the competitions I've run. I asked the guys jokingly, I said, make sure you've got to choose one money shot for me. And what I was trying to get these folks to do was think about how they best want their work viewed. And that comes back to our idea, we were talking about composition and those things. Once you can do
to
that,
another level, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think once you can do that, it helps you to be mindful of how you'd like your work seen. And it also then helps you with the planning phases, going back to what Dave was asking about groundwork first, or which order are you making it in. That's actually what I would suggest is, I know it's nigh impossible at the beginning, but if you can envisage your money shot, is what I jokingly like to call it, your best shot, and then work backwards from that. And then the better you get at doing that, it strengthens your ability to not only mentally picture what you're working on, but then to be able to physically make it as well.
Yep.
Can
I leave now? I'm going to leave on that high note. I just dropped some good stuff.
I was just going to say that this is an interesting point because it's the polar opposite of, say, entering models for competition, where you've got to make it look good from every angle, but it also means you can't just make it sort of cater to one, right? And that whole thing with the tank and looking at the underside of it, trying to look at it from the worst possible angle you can find, right? And then scrutinize it from that point of view.
And that's why, like for these Hunde models, the Hunde model is quite. I knew it was perfect based on upskirt gate. I knew it was one of the perfect ones to illustrate the point, because the model doesn't balance well standing there.
Oh yeah.
it would be like one of the worst ones to bring along and just plop down on the table without a base.
Yeah.
Because it can fall and it's begging to be picked up and manhandled. And you don't want the judges doing that, right? So putting it on a base.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Trying to position it in a certain way, I think can really help to at least give them a hint on how you'd like them to be looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grab here, guy.
Yeah. So you're definitely heading to Scale ACT, which we're keen to catch up with you again. And
Yes.
just for all the listeners out there, Link is even twice as funnier after dark with a couple of beers under his belt. I'll just let that slip out. So if you want to join in the frivolity, come along and come to Scale ACT, which is on the 9th and 10th of November this year.
In Canberra, yes.
Canberra.
Definitely come along, guys. One of the best weekends out.
Oh, it's great. We had bought last year was so much fun.
Yeah, and you might even buy all 3 of Link's books in person.
Yeah,
We've
well,
signed
there you
all
go.
3 of them.
There you go.
Well, I'll be definitely picking up volume 3.
I'll be picking up volume 3.
Yep.
There's one more. Special idea I can throw out for the show.
Sure.
Volume 3 will include something new, something together with the book. I don't want to spoil it yet, but there will be something included with the book.
Oh, cool.
Some steak knives.
Comes with the. Have you guys seen? It comes with a free toy.
Yeah. I thought it came with like a free 8 before, like glossy photo with lots of love from Link.
Speaking of which, Link, I'm actually heading to Japan on the way home because I'm off. As this episode drops, I'm actually in the US at the moment as we speak. Believe it or not.
The call is amazing.
I'm stopping at Tokyo on the way home. I've got 28 hours, so I'm really excited to go and check out some of the hobby shops there. Should be a lot of fun.
Just go straight to Akihabara.
Yep.
That's it.
That's exactly where I'm going.
Very true.
My money now is, I feel sorry to my old mates at Yellow Submarine, but Volks is where it's at now. Volks has lifted their game to the point where Yellow Submarine is coming in second now.
Well, Volks and Yellow Submarine are both on my to-go list, so I'm really keen. Unless I can, Machine Creek, I'll probably pick up a couple of links. I'll be do it cheap.
Well, actually, funny you should say. I saw this thing recently. I don't know if it's still on, but there was a exhibition going in Japan from Kao Yokohama's personal works. His female figures with the weird helmets.
Oh, really?
There was Lee could probably know more about
Whereabouts
it.
Whereabouts being displayed, do you know?
I'm not too sure. I saw it on YouTube or something, but geez, his personal work, like his figures, these female figures with the weird helmets, it's fantastic work. The guy's really super talented.
Yeah, he'll often have like smaller shows going on in different places.
Yeah. Well, this was like a little gallery or something, and he had like about like a dozen pieces on display, and including like paintings and all that sort of gear.
But they've organised it so that there'll be nothing on when Dave's there.
Yes,
of course.
That's how it'll be. Yeah.
Yes. Well, Dave knows there's one place.
All of the displays turned back against the wall. They all went.
I'm only there for 28.
They turned into gambling tables.
I'm only there for 28 hours, and 8 of that I'll be sleeping. So,
so you got 20 hours to spend up.
No, don't sleep. Just sleep on the plane.
Yeah.
The coolest thing will be if you do a quick run around, because you can go from the Radiocon building. It's called the original one. That's where, you've looked into it, good man. So you've got, you can hit Yellow Submarine and Volks there. Then zip around to Tokyo Warhammer store.
Oh.
I reckon that one's, it's like 5 minutes walk up the road.
Yep.
Then you can loop around from that one to the Volks Superstore. And it's like 6 levels of hugeness.
Send me a list.
Model making stuff.
Send me a list.
If you're on the main drag there, you just can't miss this stuff. They've positioned it all so that to catch our cursed kind.
Ah, cool.
Sounds great.
Cool,
that would be a great trip, man. I'm envious for you.
Well, I'm only spewing because I could only stay there for 28 hours. I tried to extend it.
That's not much time at all.
But the next flight wasn't like for 4 days, and I didn't want to spend 4 days in Japan just by myself without Michelle, because I think she would have been a little bit more upset. I can sell this
guarantee-
because it's on the way home. So I've got to
Yes.
stop there for
It's a
28
stop,
hours.
yes.
But it'd be a hard sell saying it was 4 days.
Yeah, that's right, yes. Considering as soon as you're back, we're heading off to Queensland.
Yes, I know. Gosh.
So when she looks at your credit card things, we'll say, so wait, you were there for 28 hours. How have you clocked up 48 hours in this cat cafe?
Very funny.
And how much curry rice could you eat?
Yes.
Well, I'm not a big fan of curry, so that won't be happening. Sushi, though, different matter.
Really? So like the cuts curry?
No.
Not a fan?
No.
Oh.
Well,
Don't-
see,
don't
the
like
thing is,
curry.
like, most of the time that the curry in Japan is pork, right?
Sure. Yes.
Yeah. It always caught me out because I always expect it to be chicken, and I don't really like pork.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm just not a fan of curry. I don't see the point.
Well, Japanese,
I can't understand what I'm hearing here.
I really like the flavor of Japanese curry because it's not very spicy at all.
Sure.
Curry anywhere around the world, full stop, waste of time.
Okay, interesting.
wow.
That's a hot take.
Oh, that's a hot take.
That's a huge hot take. When you think
It
about
was
it.
a spice that was developed to mask.
Why
the
would
smell-
you
the
waste
smell
your
and taste of
time?
off meat.
Why would I waste my time eating a curry in Japan? Wait, listen to this.
Yeah,
So
go
follow
on.
me here. Why waste my time eating a curry in Japan when it's the home of sushi and I can sit and eat that to my heart's content?
That's true. Yeah.
Well, so you're going to eat a live octopus?
I actually do have an answer. The Japanese curry is quite like historically interesting because they would have first obtained curry from the British Navy. So then they developed it into they're very much their own thing. It's kind of a when blokes like us go out, hang out and go to model shops and do whatever together, 9 times out of 10, that's what you're having for lunch. Everyone will go, cuts curry, and you're all thumbs up, and suddenly you rock in there. So it actually, it's way more Japanese than you think, and it's been there for quite a few hundred years now. Crazy, but true.
You're not going to convince Dave.
No, it's cool. It's like I get it. Like
Also, like when it comes to what he wants to get, which is sushi, right?
Sure.
The best sushi that you can get here in Melbourne, I've been told, is at best on par with train sushi in Japan, right?
Sure.
Which costs nothing, and it costs a fortune here.
They I don't know if this one helps or not, but the sushi industries in Japan actually took quite a hit over COVID and then subsequent drops to the yen because they've lost a lot of their sushi chefs. So if you're trying to go to a flash place,
Ooh, that's interesting.
they've lost quite a few overseas because overseas restaurants have been headhunting them. So one of the things we felt that was really weird because we were just back there last December, is how the sushi didn't come with wasabi. It wasn't included in the sushi build.
Yep.
And that's always been a thing. It's always been one of the cool things. Certain choices of sushi should have wasabi. But no, it's because a lot of them, they're being made by machine now. They're not handmade.
Yeah.
So they've got and it is one of the reasons that's probably contributed to it being really cheap.
Yep.
With reduction of price is because they can make it out the back. And it's a machine doing the rice build, the shaping of the rice and that kind of stuff. But the flavor was still good. It was a wasabi choose your own adventure. You had to put it on yourself.
Choose your own adventure.
Yeah. So, but as a old timey Japanophile type, it felt really weird for us. We were sitting there going, how come we've got to do this ourselves?
Yeah.
But I don't know. The sushi you buy locally, does that have wasabi in it?
If you want, it does.
So you have to ask for it, or they put it in separate?
It'll be a little garnish on the side if for the dish that they believe it needs to go with.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because we get it. Same. We get it same here. So So we were kind of, how come Gaijin sushi has messed up Japanese sushi? But it's just the sign of the economic times. Things have changed somewhat.
Yep.
But I don't know. Depends on if you have enough time. You can go to a really flash place. I'm sure they've still got some old dude in there making it properly.
That's it.
So if you want to catch up with Lincoln Wright and also get the opportunity to purchase Volume 3 of his...
Or Volume 1 and 2 if you don't have them.
Volume 1 and 2 if you don't have them as well. And not only that, but there'll be some steak knives or something sold with the third book as well. Get yourself along to Scale ACT, which is in November 9th and 10th in Thoroughbred Park, ACT. Not only will you see...
Can you also plug my website?
Oh, of course.
So I thought you were taking a breath, and it was a good chance to say it.
I'm sorry, I've completely forgotten where your website is. You're gonna have to. Can you tell me?
Paintonplastic.com.
Paintonplastic.com.
But you'll laugh. I've looked at the search data. People just search for Lincoln Wright stuff. And Google knows to point them at Paint on Plastic. I thought I needed a name brand, right? But no, Google knows.
Yeah, that's it.
But sorry, will you finish the Thoroughbred Park plug?
Yeah,
sorry,
I had.
My timing was bad.
No, that's fine.
Definitely for folks in Oz, though, please come along to the show. I'm doing a demo as well on the first day.
Cool.
And their demo presentation casting list is phenomenal.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
I think there's
it's a who of who in the Australian modelling world.
Yeah. And you know, it's a real honour to be included. It's like, oh, I sneaked into this one. And there's 8 of them, and you get it's like 45 minutes to do the thing. So I'm going to prepare a lot better for it this year. Last year I thought I was doing a speech, and then I got along and it was a workbench with lights and stuff. They're saying, do your magic hand, monkey man. So I'll be prepared for that too. So I'm happy to take requests. I'm happy to read requests, I should say. I won't do them. But I was going to show a bunch of stuff based on the Hun series across some smaller versions. So that should be fun too.
Yeah.
So come along and see that.
And, of course, if you do have a Machine Krieger sitting on your shelf somewhere, bring it along to the show because it was awesome last year to see so many MAK stuff.
Has it been announced yet, Dave, that there is a category specifically for Machine Krieger this year?
That's right. Yes.
So based on the wonderful uptake of it last year, now we get a category, and that's going to be great. But also, if you're not into competing, I totally get that. On my table, there will be a place for you to also put your display models as well. But
that's nice.
Because the show is so friendly, though, I do recommend put them in the competition because, I mean, it's like
because Lincoln's work will overshadow whatever you put on that table. Well, you're going to have to take the loss.
I won't be putting anything in the comp, but I'm happy to encourage it and so on. But either way, whatever works for you, bring stuff along, and we can look at it, talk about it, and have fun. So that'll be awesome.
Sounds great.
So, Link, just as we come to the end of our little discussion, again, if people want to find you, where do they go?
So, best place, paintonplastic.com, and I have all of the other stuff that you might be interested in linked off that as well. paintonplastic.com, please.
No worries, mate. It's been a pleasure, and we look forward to seeing you in November.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Fun and games.
Mate.
Do it.
All right, mate. Thanks very much. Well, as always, that was an interesting and long chat with Lincoln. I was particularly interested to that we got sort of deep dive into bases and stuff like that.
Yeah. He's always entertaining too.
Oh, but he's so much more entertaining with a couple of beers under his belt.
Yeah.
After Dark.
Fully agree.
Lincoln After Dark is very, very funny.
Yes.
Yes.
And we're looking forward to catching up again in Canberra.
So if you've got nothing on, come to Scale ACT in November 9th to 10th at Thoroughbred Park. And come and join us at the pub on Saturday night
Yeah.
or Friday night if you get in town early. And, of course, Ian and I usually hang around with there Sunday night as well.
Yep, we do.
Yeah, so it's going to be a great show.
Yep.
And lots of fun and laughs.
Very true.
All right, gentlemen, that brings us...
That wraps us up.
Yes.
Episode
Brings us home.
193.
192, I want to say.
Oh, okay,
I said at the
190.
beginning of the show, so, yeah, 192.
Yep, cool.
Yeah.
Geez, 8 more episodes.
Yes, to 200.
Mm.
We're going to start doing some planning as to what we're going to do for our 200th show.
I can just get maybe people can leave like voice messages or something.
Well, I'd like to do that, but I've got to figure out how they can do it.
Mm.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Where do you leave your voice message?
Yeah, well, that's it, yeah.
I've got to do some investigating, and I'll work something out, and we'll have something in place.
Yeah.
And then we'll do
obviously they should record it onto a cassette and then mail that in.
Mail the cassette.
I'm surprised you even know what a cassette is. at your
I know what
age.
a cassette is. Come on, I'm not that young.
Yeah, that...
Oh, no, actually, Julian, on a wax roll.
Wax roll.
Wax roll?
Yeah, wax roll. Go back to the 1900s.
Oh, dear. Yes, so... And hello to everybody who I've seen in the US. It's been great catching up with you. And next show will be a big debrief about my trip.
Yes, we're looking forward to that one.
So that should be a lot
Definitely.
of fun to... we'll see how much trouble I
Yeah.
got into.
And Julian and I have a month off recording.
You
Yes.
do? A bit of a holiday.
Yeah, I know.
Gotta
It'd be a
get to
shame
sleep.
if I
I get
came
to
back
s-
from that month with nothing done.
Me too. Yeah, I just plan on sleeping in for a change.
Oh,
No, I can't. I wish I could, but I can't.
All right, guys. Thanks for being with us, and we will see you on the next episode.
Adios.
Yeah.